Clara Whitcomb disliked February mornings on campus, when the sky above Willow Notch flattened into a dull pewter, and every sound in the snowy quad echoed in miniature. She preferred the hush of Wilkins' archive, her kingdom beneath Green Mountain College's library, where she curated everything from 1790s land deeds to student-printed protest flyers that still smelled faintly of mimeograph ink. That Thursday, she was shelving a carton of 1950s alumni scrapbooks when her extension rang. "Clara, it's Chief Doyle. Can you come to the Sugarhouse?" Clara pinched the phone against her shoulder. "Is everything all right? The sugaring demo isn't supposed to start until next month." "There's been an accident," Doyle said, "and you knew Professor Emery best." Professor Gideon Emery, head of Historical Agriculture Studies, had wooed Clara to campus 3 years earlier with his theory that maple sugaring shaped Vermont's abolitionist networks. He was brilliant, unfailingly polite, and, the entire faculty agreed, terrible at wearing mittens. The thought of him in trouble scraped at her chest. She bundled into her parka, trudged the pine-lined lane to the Sugarhouse, and ducked inside. The air should have held the sweet nip of boiling sap. Instead, it stank of propane and fear. Gideon lay slumped against the evaporator arch, body rigid as the icicles clinging to the rafters. His spectacles were frosted. A paramedic zipped a silver blanket over him while Chief Doyle spoke in a hush to campus security. Doyle tipped his hat when he saw Clara. "He's gone. Cold exposure. Propane heater was on, but ventilators were shut. Could have been an accident, but, well, he was found before dawn by a janitor, doors latched from the outside." Clara's eyes burned. Who would lock him in? "That's what we're figuring out." Doyle handed her a gallon jug of maple syrup. "This was on the workbench. Tag says, for Clara. Thought you'd want it." Clara accepted the jug, numb. The label was bright teal, a design she'd never seen in campus gift shops. Across the top, in Gideon's meticulous cursive, was written, "You'll know where to start." Suspicion coiled around grief. Gideon adored riddles. His lectures on 19th century sugar tools often ended with scavenger hunts through town. If he labelled something for her the night he died, he'd done it because he feared he wouldn't be able to explain later. She examined the label while Doyle corralled the rescue team. Amid the usual cartoon of a red sugar house was a decorative border of maple leaves. Oddly, just 7 were shaded darker. Clara counted again. 7 dark leaves, each annotated with the faintest pencil numbers Civ 2719. Numbers, leaves, syrup, Gideon's trifecta. She ran her thumb over them and whispered, "I'll find out, I promise." Back in the archive that afternoon, Clara locked the door, set the syrup jug on her grey desk, and brewed Darjeeling strong enough to unclench her lungs. She photocopied the teal label, enlarging it until the pencil notations were legible. 311-52719. What could a sequence of 7 digits mean? They could be letters, CKEBGAI if A 1, but that spelled nothing. Dates? Shelving classifications? No, Gideon preferred wordplay. She slid open a drawer labelled Syrup Ephemera. Inside were dozens of antique labels Gideon had donated. Civil War-era wax seals, 1920s tin prints, neon 1960s tourist kitsch. The teal colour of the new label matched none of them. But the font for pure Vermont maple syrup looked suspiciously like Bryant Gothic, a typeface released in 2002. Modern. Clara fetched her loupe. Sometimes magnification revealed microprinting. Beneath the cartoon Sugarhouse smoke, she noticed a barely perceptible patterning of white dots. Morse code? She transcribed them. The spacing was muddied by the halftone. but after coffee and patience, she passed Shed E. The campus sugar forest had 5 tool sheds, lettered A through E on Gideon's maps. Shed E was half a mile upslope. Clara zipped her fleece and called her friend Joe Beauchamp, groundskeeper and gossip savant. "Joe, any chance you're near the tool sheds?" "Finishing chainsaw maintenance," he said. "Why?" "Mind walking to Shed E with me? Might be something of Gideon's." Joe's voice softened. "I'll meet you at the trailhead." They slogged along the crusted snowpack, wind rattling the birches. Shed E was padlocked, but Joe produced a fat keyring. Inside, on top of fertilizer bags, sat a cardboard box stamped with a teal maple leaf. Clara's pulse thudded. Inside the box lay 6 half-pint syrup bottles. Their labels matched the jugs. Same teal, same cartoon scene. Each, however, had different clusters of darkened leaves and penciled numbers. On one label, only 5 leaves were shaded, on another, 8. Joe whistled. "Looks like a code, huh?" "It's a trail," Clara murmured. "Gideon's last breadcrumb." She thanked Joe and carried the bottles back to the archive. Arranging the photocopies in a row, she noticed the total number of dark leaves across all labels equaled 26, the alphabet. Each leaf had its own pencil digit. When she transposed digits to letters, 1A, 2B, etc., and ordered them by bottle, a message emerged. "Check Colby, 1857 catalogue." Colby Hall housed humanities offices and Professor Emery's. The 1857 catalogue must refer to the college's founding prospectus, a rare booklet Clara had restored last spring. A single copy sat in special collections. She unlocked the steel case and slipped the slim maroon volume from its cradle. Between pages 14 and 15 lay a manila envelope. On it, Clara in Gideon's cursive. Her throat tightened. She opened it to reveal a sepia photograph and a folded sheet. The photograph showed 2 men in wool coats tapping a maple. Clara recognized the taller one. Gideon, maybe 15 years ago. The other man's face was hidden under a brimmed cap. On the back, Gideon had written, "Everything began here." The folded sheet was a will, handwritten, witnessed 2 months prior. In it, Gideon left his modest estate, journal collection, and the responsibility for the resolution of my unfinished research to Clara Whitcomb, archivist. There was a postscript. "Clara, if you are reading this, I was silenced before I could publish proof that Jonas Colby, the college's celebrated founder, laundered profits from slave-grown Louisiana cane by disguising them as maple earnings. I traced the cover-up to current administrators, intent on preserving the Colby myth for fundraising. My files are hidden where a sap becomes spirit. Trust your skills, not your fear." Clara leaned back, dizzy. Gideon hadn't merely been an eccentric historian. He'd apparently uncovered a scandal capable of tarnishing the college's name. Someone had killed to keep it hidden. Where sap becomes spirit. She thought of the campus micro-distillery, where Gideon experimented with barrel-aged syrup whiskey. Could the files be there? Before she planned her next step, the archive intercom crackled. "Ms. Whitcomb, Provost Halverson would like a word in his office." Clara's stomach dropped. The provost chaired the board overseeing Gideon's tenure dossier. She tucked the will into her cardigan sleeve and locked the catalogue cabinet. On her way out, she left the Sugarhouse jug visible on the desk. Bait, perhaps, if anyone snooped. Provost Halverson's suite smelled of lemon polish and stress. He stood when she entered, silver hair gleaming. "Ms. Whitcomb, such a loss. You were close to Professor Emery?" "He was a mentor," Clara said carefully. "Indeed." He clasped his hands. Campus police indicated you took personal items from the scene. I must ask that you surrender anything related to Professor Emery's work to my office for safekeeping." Clara steadied her voice. "His bequest designates me temporary custodian of his research. I'm following his legal will." Halverson's brow rose. "Will? I'm unaware of any." "Not surprising. I only just received it." A flicker of irritation crossed his face, gone a moment later. "Of course. Please forward a copy to legal as soon as convenient." He circled his mahogany desk. "We wouldn't want unvetted allegations tarnishing Colby's legacy. Donors can be skittish." Ah, Gideon was right. Administration feared scandal. Clara forced a polite smile, made small talk about funeral arrangements, and left, heart drumming. Outside, snowflakes drifted like pale confetti. She dialed Chief Doyle. "I have reason to believe Professor Emery was murdered over archival evidence he discovered. I also fear the administration may obstruct." Doyle sighed. "I suspected politics, but murder? You have proof?" "Soon," she said. "I need you to accompany me to the distillery tonight. We might find the evidence, and a motive." "Fine. Midnight," Doyle agreed. "Less chance of students wandering." That evening, Clara brewed more tea and plotted. If the perpetrator realized she was decoding labels, they might strike again. She scanned the campus directory for anyone with both access to the Sugarhouse and interest in burying Colby's past. 3 names emerged. 1, Provost Halverson, powerful, donor-minded. 2, Dr. Elaine Trafford, Chair of Development, currently spearheading the Colby Legacy Capital Campaign. 3, Manny Ortega, Maintenance Supervisor, Caretaker of Historical Sites, rumoured to receive bonus pay from development for tour promotions. At 11:45 p.m, Clara donned black snow pants and met Chief Doyle behind the student centre. His patrol truck idled quietly. Together they drove the rutted lane to the micro-distillery, a cedar barn perched over the sugaring creek. Inside, copper stills gleamed in flashlight beams. The sap-sweet air made Clara's nostrils flare. She scanned barrels until one caught her eye, lid stenciled with a teal maple leaf. She edged closer, heart hammering. The barrel's top was loose. Inside lay a waterproof satchel. Doyle whistled. "That looks like files." Clara unzipped it. Bundles of photocopied letters, ledgers bearing Colby's signature alongside Louisiana plantation tallies, and photographs tied Jonas Colby to sugarcane refineries. Enough to rewrite college history. Suddenly the barn door slammed. Light flooded the room, a battery lantern. Provost Halverson stood on the threshold, snow dusting his shoulders, eyes glittering. "I thought you might sniff out Emery's hidey hole," he said, stepping inside. Behind him loomed Manny Ortega, wielding a stout ash cudgel. Doyle lifted his sidearm. "Mr. Ortega, put that down." Halverson raised a pacifying palm. "Let's not escalate. Officer, consider that your department's budget is funded largely by alumni who revered Jonas Colby. Are you certain you wish to jeopardize that over unverified papers?" Doyle's jaw clenched. Clara met his gaze. She saw uncertainty, his daughter's tuition, his aging patrol car. But she also saw integrity. He tightened his grip on the gun. "Stay where you are, Provost." Clara cleared her throat. "I've made digital copies. Even if you destroy these, truth is already on a server in Montreal. My librarian friend scheduled a data drop to regional reporters at 6 a.m. Unless you confess to Gideon's death and resignation, the files go public." It was partly bluff. She hadn't yet scanned anything, but Halverson couldn't know. He sneered. "Emery was foolishly sentimental. We tried reasoning. offering him a named chair to keep his mouth shut. He refused. So yes, I told Manny to ensure he missed the ventilation lever after the meeting. Manny swallowed, eyes darting. You said it would just scare him, sir. Halverson ignored him. Colby's reputation is worth more than one zealot professor or an archivist. Clara stepped backward until her spine touched the still. The police chief heard you. Doyle flicked his phone. Its record light blazed red. And so did the Vermont State Attorney's server, automatic cloud sync. Halverson's face blanched. Manny's cudgel clattered to the floor. By dawn, both men were cuffed and loaded into squad cars, charges ranging from manslaughter to conspiracy. Doyle, after delivering statements, drove Clara home. I'll need that cloud sync tutorial, he admitted. Clara smiled wanly. I'll trade you for a donut. Grief hit her fully once she returned to her farmhouse. She brewed tea, pulled a quilt over her lap, and finally wept. Gideon was gone, but his faith in her had carried them to justice. Outside, the sunrise painted peach prisms on crusted snow. 3 weeks later, campus buzzed with cautious optimism. Interim President Lavoie promised transparent review of the Colby legacy. Fundraising mailers pivoted to Courageous History, Courageous Future. Students debated how buildings should be renamed. Clara approached the Sugarhouse carrying the teal gallon jug. She poured a ribbon of amber syrup onto fresh snow and watched it harden into taffy, just as Gideon taught during last March's sugaring off. Thank you, she whispered. On the jug's underside, she noticed a faint final inscription, invisible until sunlight struck. Keep telling the sweet, complicated story. She intended to do exactly that.